which is okay. I'll do it.
Just let the record show that Nicholas volunteered his tribute for
I
that.
don't want to. I'm going to wear a mask. Wear those masks.
You guys ever notice that there's way more work than there is time? Ever noticed that before? I'm feeling that right now.
Oh, man, dude. That's as real as it gets. As real as it gets.
I worked at least 2 hours of the last 7 days.
That's awesome, dude. I'm going to just not... You know how you're like, I made a sandwich that was 4 inches tall, and the next person's like, dude, I made a sandwich that was 8 inches tall. We don't need to compare sandwiches right now. Okay? I just want you to know I've almost slept 2 hours in the past 7 days. No. Riley, what did you do all weekend?
I did not work. I was lazy, unlike these two overachievers, you know.
I did laundry
That's
yesterday.
why there's so much to do right now. I'm just kidding. Yeah. You did work on Saturday.
Oh, yeah, I guess I did work on Saturday.
And do a little work.
That was generous to call that work. It was like 15 minutes. I watered some plants. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Well, should we get started?
Yeah.
Welcome back.
Should we get started, Chit? Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, that guy, he kills me. He is so funny. For anyone who doesn't know, Chit, C-H-I-T, is like a character that he's like an office character, and he's supposed to be a caricature of a kind of person at the office.
That I don't think actually exists. But
yeah, no, it's a little
we're thankful
too far.
Chit exists.
Yeah, it is so funny. What are you working on there, Chit?
Working on the budget.
Oh, okay. And he's just like sitting on the computer typing
ASDF
over and over again. Like, I could really go for some lunch right now. He like hasn't done anything all day. Anyway, fun little thing. We send that to each other at 10:30 at night in order to cope with our lives right now. Well, welcome back to the Prairie Farm Podcast, Coffee Time Wednesday. I'm Nicholas, your favorite host, along with your favorite co-host, Kent Boucher. And we are returned with Riley Rosendahl, favorite coast to the coast.
Yep. Back again.
Back again, my friends, to the show that never ends.
This is the song that never... Is that what you're quoting?
No, I think isn't it the beginning to like an ACD, For Those About to Rock or something like that?
I believe you.
You're showing your age there, Ken.
Showing your age. I don't know about what concerts you went to when you're 30.
when I see videos of people that were like a big, which of course AC/DC, they were already considered the oldies when I was a kid. But you see like videos of, well, that age group, right? Well, so Ozzy just did a concert, his last concert right before he died. But you'll see like pictures or videos, picture shows of of like Guns N' Roses or AC/DC still doing their thing. And you're like, man, when did these guys get so old? But then you'll see people from when I was like a kid or high school, and you see them perform, and you're like, when did we get so old?
Yeah. There's only been one immortal superstar, and that was what's his name? The really flamboyant guy.
Weird Al Yankovic?
No, I promise you it's not Weird Al. Who's the really flamboyant guy? They made a movie about him. He's like... I can't remember. He's always got the big sunglasses and he plays piano.
Oh, Elton John.
Elton John. I kept thinking Gene something Gene. Elton John. Sorry, guys.
I
do know.
I think Elton John officially retired, didn't he? He did, or from touring.
Well, I know, but I'm
sure
like
he'll still do some
performing all. Oh, he was in a movie in like 2019. Playing Elton John. So, not a movie I recommend, but it's called The Kingsman 2 for anyone who should not watch it. Bad movie. All right, friends. Today we're going to talk about something dear to our heart. Kent spends hours and hours and hours every week working on this.
You're right, yeah.
American lawns. Big fan of American lawns. Anybody have any thoughts before we even get started?
My opinion on lawns evolves through my life, and it continues to do so to this day.
Kent's really hung up on this new thing he needs to ask Laura Walter and Justin Meisen on.
Oh, no, that's not what I was thinking of. But yes, I am hung up on that too. And I think I'm going to be right.
And he refuses to talk about it on the podcast until he has
I don't want to mislead people because it's kind of a big thing.
Some deep research here.
What about you, Riley?
I think that mowing a lawn is fun to a degree, but anybody that likes to mow says they like to mow all year, like all summer, is maybe lying to themselves.
Or at least doesn't have enough to do.
Yeah, at least this year. I mean, it's like rained so much that if you've got a big lawn, you're mowing like every 3 days.
Yeah. It's very hard.
It'd be like
to
your
keep
full-time
up
job this year.
Did you grow up mowing?
Yeah.
Because you had older brothers. Like,
yeah, I would mow the yard, and then Dad would mow waterways. You know, it was just part of summer. You had to mow.
You want to hear a funny mowing story?
Yeah.
So for a significant portion of my childhood, I mowed, and my brothers mowed too, my younger brothers. And for a significant portion of that portion, our lawnmower had no working brakes. And we lived on a very steep hill, and the brake also doubled as like your clutch for shifting gears. And so if you applied the brake on the hill, like let's say you're going up the hill, you'd start going backwards down the hill. Which if you could play it right was kind of fun, right? But one time my middle brother had to mow around the trampoline, and you know how sometimes you know, when you're a kid, you get yourself into like a blind panic or something. You're like riding your bike down a hill and you're like,
oh, no.
I don't know what to do.
Oh,
you know?
no.
So he gets into a blind panic on the lawnmower and goes to step on the brake. And of course, there's nothing there, right? And so he just keeps going mowing on a riding lawnmower, just mowing along under the trampoline. And he was so like thin and, small. He like did a matrix over the back of the seat. Like, he's like, why is that the move, Luke? And he gets burned up by the mat, like rubbing his arms on it. But he almost made it all the way to the other side. Yeah. But finally the steering wheel got hung up on like the down pressure of this chain down, because we had it chained down from, learning what happens when a windstorm catches your trampoline. And finally it just like it gave out, there's some safety feature or something that, or no, I think what happened was his weight came off of the seat because he was doing the matrix, right? And that was our kind of mowing experience as a kid.
So you went outside and the mower was somehow under the trampoline.
Right.
Mowing underneath the trampoline.
Watching it was like, I'm pretty sure I was there like watching. I was doing something else in the yard. And it was like one of those like you're scared to death for your brother, but also you're amused and can't wait to tell all of his friends.
Dude, I've got a mowing story as old as time. Once upon a time, Nicholas was told that he was now going to mow the lawn. Nicholas was very excited to mow the lawn. He was 10, 11 years old, something like that. Nicholas starts mowing the lawn, and he doesn't know that his deck is only 4 inches wide. He doesn't know that there are decks as wide as 60 inches. He's just mowing on a little white mower, not the color, the brand. You're probably thinking, I've never heard of that.
Didn't they go out in the 80s?
This thing was so old, and it took forever. And all my friends, when they'd pass on the bus, they would be like, why do you go around your yard? You need to be going in straight lines. So I gave in to peer pressure. So now instead of going around, every time I'd go in straight lines. Well, you get to the end, that white has a radius of like 4.5 miles. Yeah. So you have to do like
it's like the gravel
ABCD turn, like just turning to get back into a straight line and go around. And man, little Nick, he didn't know he'd be doing it through his senior year. And by golly, after his senior year that summer, Dad bought a 0-turn lawnmower.
What about Nathaniel? Didn't he mow?
Never. That man never mowed. I mean,
how did he get out of it? Did he like?
I think I just
did he like purposely run over something important once and be like, I can't do it?
The truth is, I'm not trying to toot my own horn. Like, I'm a pretty good operator. And Dad really liked how the lawn turned out when I did it. I think Nathaniel did it a couple times, and so Dad was like, all right, Nicholas is doing this, and so yeah, that's the old story that half the kids in America have heard of.
Yeah, I wonder if that old white lawnmower is still kicking around out here.
I saw it. Yeah, I saw it the other day. It brought back memories. Right. I teared up. And I thought to myself, man, I can't wait to see that thing burn.
We're gonna get that thing refurbished for your birthday.
No.
We'll send it straight to Nicholas's house.
Yeah. My wife's really excited to mow. She's mowed one. She's push mowed one time in her life. and it just happened to be in between houses and stuff. But yeah, she's excited to have a lawn that she can mow. But you guys want to hear some stories about American lawns?
Yeah.
I'm here to tell them to you. As most people know, they were started in European aristocracy. They started as like a medieval kind of war tactic to like a defense. You need to be able to see around your village, or need to be able to see around your castle or whatever kind of structure you have. And then it became associated, okay, rich people have short lawns, and then it just became a status thing. All right. We took it over the United States. It had a big boom in World War II because it became associated with the American dream, right? White picket fence. We don't say low cut lawn, but it is on all the photos. It's on all the pictures. You know, it's when we're thinking of it with a nice lawn. Maybe some flowers in there, but you got a lawn. Here are some stats. According to a study that NASA did with their satellites, the United States has about 40 million acres of lawn. That is more acres than there are cropland in Iowa and Minnesota, I believe, combined of row crop acres.
That's insane.
Or it's very comparable to those two. Here's another one. $1 billion or 1 billion gallons of gasoline are used mowing annually.
1 billion?
1 billion gallons. That's according to the U.S. Department of Energy. So, you know, they're keeping track of where the energy goes. Apparently, it's going to lawnmowers. You got a AI, cryptocurrency. You got an energy crisis. We found the energy.
Yeah, we've unlocked it.
1 hour of mowing, because they're so inefficient in terms of what's called the smog-forming volatile organic compounds, or VOCs, which is why we have like smog tests and stuff like that. Well, mowers don't have to pass that, you know, old mowers and stuff like that. So 1 hour of mowing equals as much smog forming as 11 new cars in an hour. So it is 11 times worse. Now, that's not 11 old cars. You know, it's probably fairly comparable, or maybe 2 or 3 of those cars. But the newer ones, you know, it's not. That's according to Utah Department of Environmental Quality. Nearly 80 million pounds of pesticides are used on lawns annually.
Wow.
Yep. And lawns are used have 10 times more fertilizer per acre than industrial farming. So 40 million acres of lawn equals 400 million acres of fertilizer of industrial acres. We've had Chris Jones on the podcast. We've talked about Swine Republic. I mean, look at the graph on Swine Republic, and he talks about like how much fertilizer goes on agricultural acres. Well, can't give lawn people too much of a break. And I'm not against lawns. We should probably be clear about that.
Yes, you are.
Native plantings can support 4 to 5 times as much insect diversity. You know, so you're screwing around, you'll see some insects, but that's not talking about like quantity. We're just talking about diversity. And then lawns cover 2% of the continental U.S. Now, I've lived in California. I've got a good friend who owns a sprinkler company. In Redding, California, you can't have a lawn without watering it. You have to put fertilizer on it. You have to water it. You have to treat it super well. You have to reseed it every other year. Like, you're taking really good care of your lawn. Why do we do that?
Yeah.
Now, here's something that I think Kent was just talking about before we started the podcast. Like, the flies are so annoying. I think there's some subconscious, like, we've gotten rid of so many of the insects. Like, if everything was a native pollinator in people's yards, like, we would be really annoyed with how many insects we have.
Yeah,
that's
true, yeah.
like, we talk about the insect apocalypse, and it's a huge issue. Like 50% of the volume of insects is gone from, or the quantity of insects is gone since, I believe, 1970s. So there is a real issue with it, but that doesn't take away from the fact that insects are can become not just a nuisance, but truly like an issue if you're not careful. So lawns, I liked playing football on our lawn. I want to be able to have a lawn. I'm just wondering, maybe we don't need 40 million acres of them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know. What do you guys think? What's striking here for you?
I I think that, so as I said, starting this out, my opinion on lawns is changing, which, I think to some degree, most of our opinions should constantly be fine-tuned, right, as we gain more understanding. And I can see a purpose in lawn to some extent. Like I often wonder if one of the reasons lawns became a big thing in the American Midwest is because of wildfires and also predation on livestock as Euro-American settlers were moving across the landscape and setting up homesteads. If you go back, listen to part 3 of the Prehistoric Prairie, we talk about this exact thing. But the threat of a wildfire taking everything you have, or prairie fire, right?
Yeah.
Which we know is quite regular that those fires were occurring. That was a major threat. So what would be a good way to combat that? Would be to, with your livestock and with your plow, kind of cut back the prairie away from your barn and your house and, your farming equipment and stuff to try and protect that. So I've never heard that. That's just speculate. It would only make sense if I was, and plus it makes sense to start grazing your animals close to home at first and then work your way out as you're settling in. And so I kind of wonder if that's maybe part of it, why we have it. And so some of that reality still holds true today if your yard is serving some kind of purpose, right? And so one of the most exciting things in my old life right now is this backyard prairie that I installed. I was just showing it off to Nicholas the other day when he had to get some files for the podcast from me. I was like giving him a garden tour of all of our gardens and stuff. And so we have now, it's taken our 4 years of living here to baby steps each year to now we're going into some big leaps and strides to using the land that we live on, right? And so our yard, I view that as part of the matrix for what we're trying to do as a family, right? We got all these gardens, we got these couple prairie plots, we're going to have bigger production fields. Well, my yard works in it for a couple ways with that. My lawn, part of my yard does. It's a fire break that protects my house when I go to burn my prairies.
Yeah.
It's also, I think it's an important part that accentuates to other people that go by my yard. I think for the first several years while I've been preparing for this prairie and, first seeded it and stuff, neighbors had to think I was crazy. Like, what is he doing over there? It looks terrible. This big dead spot in the middle of this beautiful open field here, And now, you saw it, Nicholas, I got a lot of nice flowers coming up in there.
Yeah.
And there's no doubt when people drive by, they're like, holy cow, what is all that tall bellflower? What's all that oxeye sunflower doing in there? And wild berg and stuff, The lawn serves as a way to accentuate that, right? It adds some of that. I mean, we can't get away from it. Humans love symmetry. They love order. They love things looking like everything's got its place, right? And so I think having a little bit of lawn can accentuate that and then get other people to say that maybe know nothing about what a prairie does. They just know, hey, I want my yard to look nice. They're like, oh man, I bet I could plant some of that in my yard, and it would still look nice because I can mow around it like Kent does, And so I think that lawns can play that role. And then, like you said, I got 4 kids, and 2 of the last 3 nights we were outside playing football. I need a nice. I think Doug talked about this in a recent podcast. Part of his career was designing and installing and maintaining athletic fields. And he said, if my kids are going to be playing on a field, I want it to be in good shape and I want it to be nice so that they can safely do so and have fun. And so I think that lawns, when you're using them for things like that too, it only makes sense to have some space there. But you're right. If to me, and I know I'm probably calling some people out right now. I don't know if any of them are on this podcast, but they probably have relatives that are guilty of this. If you have the 3 of us were just joking about this the other day when we were riding together. We saw this yard, and it was probably 5 acres of mowing. What is the point of that? You know what I mean? Like that is not to me. If there's a large property and all of it is treated like lawn, and I've seen bigger than that. One time I talked to a guy who was mowing 12 acres every week, the whole thing, 12 acres. Like, sell your land, make it, do something for somebody else. If all you're ever going to do is just cut the grass, you know what I mean? That to me is just it's a wasted space.
Yeah.
That at best just has negative inputs that affect the environment, like you talked about with the smog production and stuff. And if it's fertilized and pesticides are used on it, those are entering the system as well as risk factors for everyone else downstream. And so, to me, a lawn makes sense if it's a part of a matrix of a bigger picture with, like, you know, establishing habitat, putting in gardens. And maybe those gardens are just not even native flower beds. Maybe they're, some zinnias and snapdragons and things like that, right? So, but at least there's some value there.
Yeah.
Whereas if it's just, nope, I live on 5 acres and I don't really know what to do with it, so I just mow the whole thing, to me that's just a huge waste.
Yeah.
You could either be doing hay ground, or you could be growing a crop, you could be cash renting, you could be turning into a little hunting spot. I mean,
or you could just be not mowing. You could just,
just
not
let it grow up.
Your time mowing it. I mean,
and not have those negative inputs.
Yeah, absolutely. What is an acre? Mowing an acre with a big riding mower is what, 30 minutes? I mean, it and I think that's rounding down.
I bet it's more like an hour.
Yeah, well, not. I mean, those speedy ones, they can get over an hour.
Nice,
but I bet people who just live on it on 1 acre probably don't have those.
So let's say 45 minutes for an acre, and there's 40 million acres. So what's 3/4 of that? 30 million hours a week. 30 million man hours a week mowing lawns. You
talk about creating value. I mean, think of what that time could be used for.
I mean, it's kind of interesting when no one bats an eye at the price of backyard pollinator. I think a big part of the reason is, like, lawn grass is about as expensive. To cover an acre is many hundreds of dollars, if not into the over $1,000 to cover an acre with really thick sod. And it's that expensive, sometimes cheaper, to put in a backyard pollinator. My sister and brother-in-law, they lived down the country for quite a while. And they had a really cool garden, and then on the edges of it, they had a pollinator, like a 3-foot wide, going around the perimeter pollinator. And that was a really cool thing to see. I really enjoyed that. And, because it's a small enough area, they could really manicure what they wanted in there. It wasn't that expensive. But I don't say get rid of lawns. I just think we could have less. I don't know. What do you think, Riley?
I think all too often, if you've got an acre or two or something like that, and you're putting all that energy and time into maintaining a lawn, and then you spend the rest of your time, like this weekend, I went to a nature preserve and walked around and looked at prairie flowers and things like that. But if you're listening to this podcast and you're passionate about conservation, take your acre, put 1/4 of it into short pollinate or something, and just save the time mowing, see it in your front yard. You'll get to see it more often than, every other week or whatever.
Yeah.
You wander out, it can be part of your daily routine. You can see what's going on and work value into your landscape.
Yeah.
Rain gardens are something that's coming up a lot this year. People talking in suburbs about, we get these huge rainstorms, and where does this water all go? It rushes into stormwater systems. If you've got an acre, put a 1/2 acre pollinator in the front, mow around it, have enough room to do your, tossing the football and some nice looking stuff around your house, and in the backyard put a rain garden.
Yeah.
Save yourself the hours and hours of mowing just to mow. Get your value out of it.
Yeah, and I want to touch on that a little bit too, because I've thought about this a lot. Actually, what really made me think about it was, I guess more, it's kind of something I was already, because I kind of enjoy my time on the lawnmower, because I listen to podcasts or books, and I feel like I'm getting some work done. And then what really made me start thinking about more is when we were hanging out with Travis Frank, and he's like, man, I love my time on the mower. And I'm right there with you, buddy. It's enjoyable time, and but I think it also ties to something inside of us for why it's enjoyable. You know what I mean? I think all humans are wired to desire purpose, right? And we want what we do to have purpose, and naturally that included a lot of physical work. Yeah. It is unnatural for us to be sitting at a desk as much as a large percentage of the human population does anymore.
Yeah. Actually, the sitting position in a chair is like not good for your body long term.
Yeah, Dwight Schrute says it causes blood clots. but
Kent's mentor.
And I found this even when at our last house, I was living in town, and we had just under a half acre, and I'd say, almost half of that half acre, because a lot of it was wooded actually. I had to push mow, and it was very hilly. I mean, super steep, so steep that I had to mow with football cleats on, or I'd wipe out. I definitely wiped out while push mowing that lawn many times in front of other people. But I enjoyed like the physical work I was doing, even though, as we've just discussed, it's kind of pointless work.
Yeah.
And so, kind of going along with what Riley's saying, find a way to create some value with your space. I think I get that same feeling, but even stronger when I'm helping in the garden, when I'm working on my prairie plot and pulling weeds and identifying different species coming up, or when I'm working on my production field that I have. I get that same itch scratched in my brain of, hey, I need to do something that's productive here, when I find another way to add that value. So some kind of flower garden, or planting some trees, even having a good tree planting in your yard that you can keep an eye on, or a little orchard or something.
I also think this is kind of a thought forming now. Like, we really like our land. Well, I can't do a garden for that big of an area. Well, maybe you have too much land. Well, what if the kids want to throw the football? Then go to the park. You're not that far, but no, I want my land. I want to do what I want with it. And then to your point, Riley, like lawns, not only are they not like a real value add besides like maybe an emotional happiness or like satisfaction of feeling like something is clean and put together, they're a value suck. They're like, what's that like really famous?
A Dementor?
No.
An ecological Dementor? Is that what you're trying to say, Nicholas?
No, I wouldn't put him in don't you dare badmouth Harry Potter like that. Actually, I've only seen it once. My wife kind of dragged me through the series, and I felt very about it.
So which one's Gary again?
No.
He's
They're
in the whole
Harry
thing.
Potter.
It's terrible. Dude, no, it's a little fish, like food. It's like little fish eggs.
Caviar.
Caviar. Thank you. I was like, Capri Sun. That's not right.
The little fish eggs that are food. He says.
Well, but my point is like, there's no way that the nutrients that gives a human outweighs like the effort it takes to get them,
right.
And all that stuff. And that's what lawns to me are. I just don't think we need as much lawn. And if someone, so we just gave all the logic for why it's like, all right, maybe we should be done with lawns. But if someone says, my lawn, I want it my way, well, maybe there's a deeper issue there and you need to see a shrink. But I'm not anti-lawn. I just think we could do with a little less. I'm not anti-food. I'm not, but I think we could go with a little less. I'm not anti having nice things, but you get my point?
Yeah, I think you're appealing to the control side of it. And you've talked about this before with why people have such a hard time with the patience required for establishing a good prairie is because it doesn't look perfect. Quit flinging those flies my way. Why people don't have the patience for to get through the ugly phase of a prairie.
Yeah.
It kind of goes back to an internal thing of I want control over something.
Yeah.
And so I will have control over this.
Absolutely. Well, we really appreciate you all tuning in. If you want an alternative to your lawn, you already know, hoxieNativeSeeds.com. But more important than going and buying seed, if you're trying to spread conservation, maybe send this episode to a person or two. That way you guys have something to fight about when you go to Thanksgiving.
Good passive-aggressive move.
No, but we really appreciate it. Please leave a 5-star review if you're enjoying this. That gets the podcast put in front of more people. And we will talk to you again next time.